Ever feel like you're walking through a minefield, but you don't have a map?
Yeah.
Today, we're diving into a book that claims it has that map. The 48 Laws of Power. It's a bit of a controversial one.
Yeah.
Some people say it's like a playbook for, climbing to the top no matter who you step on.
Right.
Others say it's just a fascinating look at, the real rules of the game, the ones nobody tells you about.
Yeah.
So we're going to break it all down. So we're going to get into the nitty-gritty, the historical examples, the stuff that makes you go, whoa, did that actually work?
Yeah, what's amazing to me is just how timeless a lot of these laws are.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter if you're trying to climb the corporate ladder or just get your point across in a meeting, understanding those power dynamics.
It's everywhere.
It is everywhere. It can be incredibly useful.
Okay. So let's jump right into it. One of the things that the 48 Laws of Power really drives home is this idea that appearances matter.
Oh.
A lot. This is, it's that old saying, perception is reality, but weaponized a little bit.
Exactly. And Law 6, court attention at all costs, is the perfect example of that. We live in a world that's just overflowing with information.
Oh, yeah, it's overwhelming.
It's totally overwhelming. So standing out is more important than ever. And I'm not talking about being the loudest person in the room,
right?
But understanding how to make your presence felt, how to get noticed.
And I've definitely been in those meetings where it's not the loudest person, it's the quietest person in the room who somehow has the most impact. And I'm like, how are they doing that? Is it like a Jedi mind trick or something?
Right, it's like a magic trick.
Yeah.
And remember P.T. Barnum, the master showman?
All right.
He understood this law instinctively.
Okay.
He built up a huge crowd for a lecture, right?
Okay.
By spreading this rumor that the speaker was this disgraced reverend.
Wait, and that worked. People were like, sign me up.
It totally worked. And you know what? When the truth came out that the rumor was fake, it actually made Barnum more famous.
Oh.
He understood that even bad publicity is still publicity, which, how valuable is that in today's world?
It's true.
Right, where everybody wants to go viral.
Yeah, so it's not just about being noticed, it's about being noteworthy, right?
Yeah.
Being memorable.
Precisely. But there's a flip side to this whole courting attention thing, which brings us to Law 16. Use absence to increase respect and honor.
Wait, hold on. I thought we were just talking about getting attention. Now we're ghosting people.
Right. It sounds counterintuitive, but trust me, this one's juicy.
Okay, how do you balance, making yourself visible but also making yourself scarce? I feel like it's like a recipe for getting overlooked, isn't it?
It can be, but if you play it right. Think about King Louis XIV of France, the Sun King. This guy, he ruled from Versailles, right?
Right.
This palace of just unbelievable opulence.
Yeah, over the top.
Over the top. But it wasn't just about the luxury, okay? It was calculated. He required his nobles to attend court there.
Oh, interesting.
So he kept them close, but he also kept them a little off balance, you know what I mean?
So it's strategy disguised as extravagance. I'm starting to think there's layers to all of this, that it's not just being flashy or
there are, yeah.
being over the top. It's there's a method to the madness.
You're catching on. And here's the thing, that absence, that yearning to be in the king's presence, it made the nobles value their time with him even more.
Oh, interesting.
Right. It's because they were kept at arm's length a little bit, they were oh, we're in the inner circle.
It's absence makes the heart grow fonder. It's you become the scarce resource and everyone wants a piece.
Exactly.
Okay, I can see how that's powerful. But if you're trying to get things done, don't you have to actually, be present?
Well, that's where delegation comes in, right?
Okay.
Which is what Law 7 is all about. Get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit.
See, now that just sounds a little shady. Is that ethical? It sounds like something a shady CEO would do.
It can be, but it's also really, at its core, it's about recognizing and utilizing the talents of the people around you.
Okay.
Because you can't be an expert in everything.
All right.
And trying to do everything yourself, it leads to burnout, often leads to subpar work.
Oh, for sure.
So it's about building a team
of
people who excel in those areas where you might not.
That makes sense, yeah.
And that's where things can get, we have to talk about Edison and Tesla.
Ooh, yeah. Tesla, the visionary, the genius.
Yes.
Who got kind of,
A little bit.
pushed aside.
Yes.
That's like a cautionary tale right there.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Utilizing talent is one thing.
Right.
But silencing or taking credit for the work of others, that's where it crosses the line. And I think that, it's not just, the ethical consideration.
Right.
Acknowledging your team, that builds loyalty. It strengthens your reputation. It shows you're a leader who values your team.
Nobody wants to work for the person who's just going to take all the credit and throw everybody else under the bus.
Oh, exactly.
It all comes back to that perception, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you've got your team, you're delegating. How do you actually get people on board with your vision, though?
Well, that brings us to Law 9. Win through your actions, never through argument.
Ooh, okay.
And to illustrate this, let's talk about Michelangelo.
Okay.
The artist, the genius.
The best.
And Pope Julius II, a man known for being, shall we say, particular.
Oh, I can only imagine. This is like Renaissance era power struggles.
Oh, absolutely.
What happened? Did they have a paint-off?
Not quite,
Right.
but it did involve a sculpture.
Okay.
So the Pope commissioned Michelangelo to design his tomb, right?
Okay.
And Julius II. Very strong opinions about every little detail, I bet, especially the shape of his nose on the sculpture.
Oh, I can imagine having to tell the Pope that his nose isn't, perfectly sculpted. That must have taken some serious courage.
Right. Well, instead of arguing, Michelangelo used a little, clever maneuvering.
Okay.
He pretended to rework the nose.
Okay.
But really, all he did was change the Pope's viewing angle.
Oh.
He brought Julius closer to the sculpture, adjusted his perspective ever so slightly,
Clever.
and voila, the nose was deemed acceptable.
That's brilliant. So he played to the Pope's ego without actually having to change a thing.
Exactly.
That's such a power move.
Absolutely.
So sometimes it's not about brute force, right?
No way.
It's about finesse,
It's about finesse.
Yeah.
Actions speak louder than words, especially when you're dealing with,
Big personalities.
Yeah. 4 drunk personalities.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, let's shift gears a little bit, talk about generosity, but not, the Hallmark card kind. Law 12 advises, use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim.
Disarm your victim. Okay, I'm a little scared now. It's getting a little dark in here.
It's about being strategic.
Okay.
With your generosity, using it to build trust, lower people's defenses.
I mean, I think we all appreciate someone who's genuinely generous.
Of course. Yeah.
But it's also so easy to be cynical, right? Especially when you're talking about power and people wanting to get ahead.
It's true, but that's why the key word here is selective.
Okay.
It's not about being a pushover. It's about choosing your moment.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, think of it like a well-placed compliment or a gesture of goodwill, something that shows you're on their side.
Right.
It can work wonders to, disarm potential rivals, win over skeptics.
So it's strategic relationship building. It's not just throwing money at a problem.
Exactly.
Exactly. Because I've seen that backfire, for sure.
Oh, yeah. And a perfect example of this in action. And you decide how you feel about this morally.
Okay.
But the story of Count Victor Lustig. Have you heard of him?
I have not.
Okay, so Count Victor Lustig, one of the smoothest con artists in history.
Oh.
Notorious for these elaborate schemes. He once convinced a group of people to invest in a machine that could duplicate dollar bills.
A money-making machine. Come on, who falls for that?
You would be surprised.
Huh.
Because Lustig was a master at this. And he would even admit to these small town criminals.
Oh, of course.
Exactly. To make themselves
So he's using honesty
to sell a lie.
to sell a lie.
So by the time he revealed his money, people were already so taken with it, they wanted to believe it. Blinded by the promise of easy money.
All it took was a little bit of calculated generosity. And illusion.
Let's make it easy.
I wonder
Right.
what other tricks are hidden.
That's the thing about the 48 laws. It makes you look at the world, even the people around you. You start to wonder.
Totally.
But it's important to remember, Lustig, he was using generosity to deceive.
Yeah.
But it can be used for good.
Sure.
Right? Philanthropy, even just simple acts of kindness.
Right. It's a tool. Right. It's these laws are tools.
Yeah.
And how you use them, that's up to you.
Exactly.
Okay, speaking of which, Law 40 kind of throws a bucket of cold water on all of this generosity and say, despise the free lunch.
Ooh, yeah.
Does that mean we should be stingy? Like, what's that about?
Not necessarily stingy, but wary.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Wary of offers that seem too good to be true.
Oh, okay.
Think about it, right?
Yeah.
We live in a world of freemium apps, introductory offers. It's marketing, right?
Oh, it's everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
And this law is just reminding us to look for those strings.
The
catch. What's the hidden cost here?
Because there always is one. Whether it's our data or our attention or our time.
Yes.
Or just the fine print,
Right.
It reminds me of that story about, like, the diamond hoax.
Oh, yes.
Where they wasn't it like they tricked Tiffany's?
Yes.
Okay, so remind me what happened there.
So in the late 1800s, these two con men, Arnold and Slack,
Okay.
they managed to fool some of the wealthiest people on the planet
Okay.
into believing they discovered a massive diamond field
Okay.
in the American West.
Bold. How'd they pull that off?
They salted a patch of land with real diamonds.
Just clever.
And they hired geologists, legitimate geologists, to back up their claims.
Oh, so they had like the expert opinions.
Expert opinions, they had everything.
Wow. And Tiffany's bought it.
Hook, line, and sinker.
Wow. So even the experts can be fooled.
It's true. It was a very carefully constructed illusion.
What gave them away? Like, how did it all fall apart?
One of the investors, he got suspicious.
Okay.
And he sent his own team to investigate.
Oh.
And they quickly realized it was all a sham.
It all comes crashing down.
Crashed down.
Wow. Okay, that's a cautionary tale. So we've got, appearances, strategic generosity, watching out for those free lunches, that seem a little too good to be true. What about just, like, dealing with conflict?
Yes.
Because, in any game of power, there's going to be enemies.
Absolutely.
Or even just frenemies, people who are, like, on your side 1 minute and then, they stab you in the back the next. How do you handle that?
It's tricky. But that's where Law 14 comes in. Pose as a friend, work as a spy.
Okay, now hold on a minute. That sounds a little intense.
Yeah.
Are we talking, like, full-on espionage here, like hidden cameras, wiretapping?
Let's not get carried away.
Okay.
It's not about being paranoid, all right?
Okay.
Or doing anything unethical. It's about being observant.
Okay.
Paying attention to those subtle cues,
Okay.
the unspoken dynamics.
So being perceptive, understanding what motivates people.
Exactly.
I like that. But how do you gather that intel without being obvious about it?
Right. Well, a fascinating historical example of this is the relationship between Napoleon Bonaparte
Okay.
and his chief of secret police, Joseph Fouché. Napoleon, mastermind, military genius. I mean, talk about a recipe for intrigue. What was their relationship like?
Oh, it was a fascinating one. I mean, it was this delicate dance.
Fouché was utterly devoted to Napoleon.
Okay.
But he was also pragmatic,
Okay.
had his own network of informants,
Oh, wow.
always keeping tabs on potential threats, even those close to the emperor.
Wow.
And you know what? When Napoleon's empire crumbled,
Yeah.
what happened?
Fouché. He managed to transition seamlessly to the next regime.
Wow. Talk about adaptability.
Right.
But I guess if you're always kind of got your ear to the ground,
Right.
you can, weather those changes a little bit better.
Exactly. Which brings us to one of the, I think, most important and perhaps most overlooked laws. Law 36.
Okay.
Disdain things you cannot have. Ignoring them is the best revenge.
Ignoring them is the best revenge.
Right. That doesn't sound very, Machiavellian, does it? I was expecting something a bit more, dramatic.
Right.
A little more,
A little spicier.
Yeah, a little spicier, like poison the well or something like that.
Right. But there's power in letting go.
Okay.
This law is about recognizing when something is truly out of your control
Okay.
and refusing to waste your energy on it.
Okay.
Right. And this is a principle that echoes, throughout history.
Yeah.
Even in the life of someone like Lola Montez.
Lola Montez. Remind me, wasn't she a dancer or something?
So much more than that.
Oh,
she was a woman who rose from obscurity to become one of the most captivating figures in 19th century Europe.
Wow.
Famous for her beauty, her intelligence, her tumultuous relationships
Oh, juicy.
with powerful men.
Okay, so she knew how to attract attention.
Oh, absolutely.
She knew how to work
She understood these laws.
Understood the laws.
Maybe instinctively, but
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
But her inability to let go of the things that she couldn't control, you know, her relentless pursuit of power and attention,
Yeah.
it ultimately led to her downfall.
Oh, so it's like, even when you think you've mastered the game,
Exactly.
there's always more to learn.
Yes.
You can't control everything.
No.
But you can control how you react,
Exactly.
how you choose to move forward. It's like those times when we're like clinging to something, right?
Right.
Whether it's a job we hate, a relationship that's gone sour, or even just an idea that's no longer serving us.
Right.
And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is just walk away.
100%.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing when something has run its course and directing that energy towards what actually matters.
What will actually get you where you need to go.
Exactly. And that brings us to our final provocative thought
Okay.
from Law 48. Assume formlessness.
Assume formlessness. Okay, that's a little abstract.
It is.
Even for this book.
Right.
What does that even mean?
So think of it like water.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
Water can flow around obstacles.
Okay.
It can take any shape.
Okay.
It adapts to whatever container you put it in.
Okay. I'm getting you.
Right. This law is about embracing adaptability
Okay.
as a strategy for navigating a world that is in constant flux.
So being flexible, being able to, change with the times, change with the situation.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, because we've seen how rigid thinking can really be a downfall.
Can be limiting.
Yeah. But how do you stay true to yourself, to your values,
Yeah.
while also being willing to shift and adapt? I feel like you could lose yourself a little bit in all of that.
It's a balancing act.
Yeah.
Right? It's finding that sweet spot between staying true to your core principles,
Right.
but also being flexible enough to navigate those ever-changing realities of life.
Yeah.
And I think that's the question the 48 Laws of Power leaves us with.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not a rule book. It's more like guidelines. There you go. Yeah. Suggestions. Yeah, and it makes you think, right?
It does.
Yeah, and that's a question for life, right?
Yeah.
It's not just for climbing the corporate ladder or
Yeah.
becoming some power broker.
Right.
It's really about how you move through the world, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you achieve what you want
Yeah.
while staying true to yourself? It's a tough one.
It is a tough one. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. I feel like we've really kind of gone deep into some of these laws, into the history, into the examples.
We've barely scratched the surface.
I know, the 48 Laws of Power. It's a deceptively dense book.
It is.
But I think we've pulled out some really interesting stuff, and I think for the listener at home,
Absolutely.
if you're intrigued, go check out the book. But also think about, where do you see these laws playing out in your own life, right?
Right.
Because I guarantee you they are.
Every day.
Every single day.
Yeah.
Whether you're, trying to, like I said, climb the corporate ladder or just, get your kid to eat their vegetables,
Right.
there's an element of power dynamics at play there.
It's all a game.
It's all a game, and it's helpful, I think, to be aware of the rules,
Absolutely. I mean, I think what we've tried to do today is really show that this book, The 48 Laws of Power, it's not this evil,
Right.
handbook for, Machiavellian villains twirling their mustaches.
Yeah.
It's really about understanding those dynamics
Right.
and how they can be used, you know.
For good or for evil.
Exactly.
The choice is yours.
The choice is yours.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's good. That's a
Yeah.
good place to end it.
All right.
That's it for this deep dive, The 48 Laws of Power. Go check it out, and we'll see you next time.